Okay, I think we are good to go. Um, so hi everyone, this is our fifth Q&A session. My name's Priya and I'm Vice President of UBC Young Women for STEM. I'll be moderating this session, and if you have any questions and are watching live, please okay. I think we are. Sorry, I'm hearing myself. Yeah, if you have any questions and you're here live, please submit them through the Q&A form on our site, and we can answer them for you during the session. And I guess we can start by introducing everyone. So, Chantel?
Yep, I'll go first. I'm Chantal, and I'm also an exec with UBC Young Women for STEM, and I've been a club member for a few years now. And I studied biophysics at UBC, and I graduated with my bachelor's in 2019. So that's me.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Eileen, and I'm in my final year at UBC, and I'm majoring in biology and minoring in French. Yeah, and this is my first year with UBC Young Women for STEM.
All right. Hi, my name is Helia. I recently joined the UBC Young Women for STEM Club this year, and I'm currently in my third year of studies at UBC, and I'm studying microbiology and immunology. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Our first question is, why did you choose UBC?
So for me, why I chose UBC was, well, I'm from the Lower Mainland, and UBC is one of the main schools here in BC, and it was close to home for me. So that was definitely a factor that played into it. But in terms of just in general, some of the benefits of going to UBC is it's quite a large school. So that means there's a lot of different opportunities if you go to UBC. In terms of research, in particular for the sciences. There's also co-op programs. I know for myself too, in my first year, I was interested in doing the coordinated science program, which is a bit of a smaller class size, and you go to lectures together, and there's extra workshops to help you out. But that was a program that I was interested in order to make my transition to university a bit easier. But yeah, so a lot of different factors.
Yeah, just building off of what Chantal said, I'm also from the Lower Mainland, and so the two schools that I was really debating between were SFU and UBC. And I ended up picking UBC just because of its amazing research opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah, so same here with the fact that I'm also from the Lower Mainland, and it was the best choice for me personally, especially being in British Columbia. And also because at the time I still am interested in applying to medical school, and I thought that, since UBC has a medical program, it would be really amazing to be able to have the whole university experience starting from my undergraduate degree and hopefully progressing that into my future studies. So that was it for me.
Okay, awesome. And what's your favorite class that you've taken so far at UBC?
For myself, so my program was biophysics. So I took a lot of classes in both biology and like basic chemistry, and then also math and physics. But I would say my favorite ones were the ones that combined biology and physics into like a single course. And so there was a couple courses that did that, but my favorite one was a medical imaging course in my fourth year. So it was a physics course, but we learned the physics behind, MRI, PET, how you can do different types of radiation therapy treatments, and it was just a really real world example of some of the physics that we have been learning for many years. And for me, that was the most interesting course that I've taken so far.
The most interesting course that I've taken so far, I took actually last semester. It was PCTH 325. It was just a very basic entry level pharmacology course. But my favorite thing about it was that for almost each lecture, you have a different lecturer, and they actually do this out of their own volition. They aren't paid or anything, so they volunteer their time to teach the lectures, and they're really specialists in that particular lecture. And so you get this broad spectrum of what pharmacology is like, with very, very specialized instructors.
For me, I guess I would have to say my virology course that I took last semester was probably one of the most interesting courses I've taken, especially with the whole situation right now with the pandemic. It was really cool to learn about, a virus such as SARS-CoV-2 and the whole life cycle of the virus. And it was just interesting how we could apply that as well as developing antivirals, vaccine development, and all these things that are super important in the world right now. And it kind of opened my eyes to how much this major can, help with solving world problems. So that was probably it for me.
On that note, yesterday we had a really good question. Someone asked how you got into STEM, and how did you know that this was for you? And yeah.
I guess for myself, there's no real moment where I was like, oh, I'm definitely going into STEM. I guess just for me in high school, I knew that I did enjoy those types of courses more, or so than social studies or languages. But yeah, I think I kind of knew that I liked those courses and I was better at them. And I also like the career paths of STEM as opposed to, other fields, because it is a bit more directed in what you can do. You'll work in probably either research, academia, you can work for different companies, or you could go into healthcare professions. So, or you could, if you're an engineer, you could go work at engineering firms. So it's a bit more directed in what types of careers you would be looking at too.
Yeah, so I, like Chantal said, I think I've always had an inclination towards STEM subjects. I've always excelled in in high school with biology and chemistry and physics. And I think it wasn't until I actually got into university that I learned about all the different opportunities you could do with a science degree. But yeah, like Chantal said, there's a wide spectrum of things you can choose from. And I think a common misconception with STEM is that there's not a lot of creativity with it. But there's actually many opportunities, and flexibility within, research, where you can pick your own research questions and whatnot. So yeah, I like the, I guess it's sort of an intersection of creativity and science for me.
For me, I guess same in the sense that ever since I was a kid or in high school, I've always just seemed to do better in the sciences overall, whether it be biology, chemistry, or physics. And as a whole, I guess my family definitely played a big role in kind of showing me what it's like to be a scientist or be in the world of STEM, because everyone was from a different background. My father was very, very passionate about physics and math, so it was really cool to always have conversations with him about all the different types of topics that you could, potentially pursue in physics. And my mother, on the other hand, was more biology, chemistry, she loved those topics. So it was a very nice balance of, all types of, STEM fields. And I guess that definitely also helped me figure out what I wanted to do.
Awesome. Okay, and the next question is, what are your best study tips or tips to be successful as a student?
I think for me, some of my best study tips would be to find a study group. So at least for a lot of physics and math courses, you'll have like different weekly assignments, and they're more so, I guess, problem solving. And especially when you get to the later years in your degree, they get quite challenging and it's quite difficult, but it's a lot easier to work on them if you have other people who you can study with and work on the problems with together and learn together. So that'd be one of them. And I think another one too that I learned later on in my degree, which I wish I had done earlier, was to go to office hours if I needed extra help. Sometimes even if you weren't sure, like if you really needed help, it would be good just to run things by the professor or the TAs, just to have them re-explain it to you if you needed it, just to solidify your understanding. And I think that for me was useful just for studying and also doing better in my classes and in the assignments. But another thing that is nice is that you also get to know your professors a bit more. And after you graduate, you'll have potentially someone you could ask for an academic reference if you ever needed one. So office hours are a good way to kind of, get help, but also, make connections with people who might be able to give you a reference or help you out later on when you're looking for a job or going into another degree. So yeah, those are my tips.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Chantal said about going to office hours. That has also been really crucial for me, and also something I learned later on in my degree that I wish I knew earlier on. And another tip that I have is to practice active learning. And so you probably have heard of like Quizlet and like Anki cards and all that. But if you have a memorization based course, it's really important to start early and to not procrastinate. I think in university, it's a lot harder to study for a test the night before and do well on it. So yeah, just learning to time manage is really crucial.
I definitely agree with both of those, especially, oh my God, office hours, office hours, office hours. They are so important. And every course that I've done super well in were courses that I was going to office hours every week. There was one course that I knew that I would have difficulty with, and I was with the TAs 3 times a week. And that's definitely my biggest advice. If there are going to be courses where you're not going to be a natural at them, and they're going to be a challenge when you're in the class. You might not understand everything, so that's definitely very important. And another thing, I guess for my major specifically, microbiology involves tons of memorization, whether it be virus names or how bacteria do a particular process. And unlike math and physics that are very problem solving based, for these types of courses, I recommend definitely trying your best to, spend some time studying alone when it comes to memorization, because I think that it's very easy to lose focus when you are doing memorization based studying in a group. And even though it is much more fun and it might seem like you're doing a lot more, in my experience, it's a lot better for those types of courses to take some time on your own and try to memorize that way.
Those are some great tips. What have you enjoyed most about university?
It's a bit of a difficult question because there's so many different things, but I think for myself, I've probably enjoyed just taking advantage of some of the different opportunities that there are offered to students. So for example, I participated in the co-op program, which is you can basically apply for jobs that are geared towards students, and you can take time off of your studies to go work in your field and then come back to your studies afterwards. And for me, that was a really good experience. And I also did work learn, which is where you can work part-time while also staying in courses as well. So for me, those were two really great experiences where I got to have some more hands-on experiences and jobs. And then, yeah, I got to apply my knowledge outside of the classroom, which was really cool.
Yeah, I think the range of education opportunities that are available is what I've enjoyed the most. And so I've mentioned before that I'm a biology major and a French minor, and I really enjoyed not having to pick between one or the other, that I could combine those into one degree. And especially with my biology major, I feel like I was really able to explore a range of subjects. One of the cooler classes that I've done is I've done an entomology course, which is not something that I ever thought I would do. But yeah, I really enjoyed the wide range of courses that are available.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially when doing sciences. Sometimes it might feel like you're restricted to some courses, but once you get out there and try some other courses, for example, I've been taking some Asia study courses, which again is not really something I would do. I'm not a creative writing enthusiast, or in general, I don't consider myself someone that would be studying literature. But this one course that I'm taking has opened my eyes in so many ways. And I think that this has been one of the best experiences throughout university overall, just because I'm looking at the world from a whole different perspective that I never expected before. And I'm learning things about everyday, activities, everyday, societal things that are happening. So that for sure would be probably one of the best experiences I've had at university, as well as my lab courses. I have to say, especially with the pandemic this year, they've done an amazing job at kind of keeping the labs going. And it's been a really great experience just, doing I don't know, plating the eukaryotic cells and taking images, fluorescence, and everything. So it just looks really cool.
Awesome, thank you. And the next question is, what surprised you most about university?
I think for myself, the thing that surprised me the most was just how big it was, especially at UBC. So it's a very large campus, and you could, if you have classes on opposite ends of the campus, it is like a 20-minute walk at least if you're walking really, really fast, which is something to consider because you only have 10 minutes between your classes. So you can invest in maybe a bike or a scooter or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a big campus and then also a lot of students. So on campus, at least when classes are in person and not virtual, it's quite busy. You can sit in a lecture hall with 300 or more different people. And yeah, I guess it could feel a little bit overwhelming at first, especially if you're in a lecture hall and you're sitting beside someone new every day. But that's definitely not every single class. Some of them are a lot smaller, especially when you get to later years. But yeah, I think that was the thing that probably surprised me the most, was just how many different students there were, all doing their own things. Yeah, and the size of the campus and the community.
Yeah, just building off of the size, I think you really get to meet a a wide range of people as well. Like there's a lot of diversity in that, and it's been really interesting for me to like get to know people from like all over the world who come to UBC for an education, and learn about their journeys. And um, yeah, just I really like the people here.
For me, I guess I was always intimidated by professors as a whole. Like I would talk to other university students and they'd be talking about, oh, doctor this and doctor that. And I'd always think, oh, they're these really scary people that, I don't know how I'm going to go to classes and even interact with them. But then what really surprised me was how nice they were. And some of them can actually, kind of be your friends, if you will, if you have a good relationship with your professors. It's um, truly really rewarding, especially with some professors who, you can email them at any point, even if you have some problems with school or even, mental health issues. They will help you out if you ever need it, and they will give you the right resources. So that was both surprising and very, very amazing to see, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, and what's something you wish you had known in your first year of university?
I guess for myself, it's something that I learned later on in my degree. But for myself personally, so with my biophysics degree, it was quite challenging. It's an honors program, so you have to take a full course load, and a lot of the courses are quite demanding, and you'll be taking a lot of physics and math at the same time as a lot of other courses. Um, so, what I wish I had known though earlier on in my degree is that it's okay to feel like um, you might not be able to learn everything or feel a little bit behind in your courses. Obviously, you should do the best that you can to not procrastinate and stay on top of your courses and get help when you need it. But I think university is quite challenging in the sense that you have to manage a whole bunch of different courses at once. And oftentimes the course loads are quite intense. And it's okay to feel like it's challenging and that you're behind. But you just have to do your best and keep doing the best you can to learn as much as you can in the time frame. And it will work out in the end because everyone is in the same boat as you and trying to learn everything. So but yeah, I think it was just for myself, it was just getting comfortable with that feeling of not being able to master everything in every single one of my courses right away. It was definitely a slow work in progress.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that the transition from high school to university can be quite overwhelming at first, especially if you're moving away from home and you're learning to live on your own for the first time. Um, there are a lot of resources out there, like as we've talked about before, with like office hours if you're struggling with the course material. And as well, like UBC offers a lot of mental health resources, such as I think there's a Student Care Psychology Network, I think it's called. And it's free, and you're able to go and talk to people if you're feeling overwhelmed. And yeah, really take advantage of those things, because I think most people don't feel like they have a hang of university right away, and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely agree with all of that. And also, in first year, I feel like it's the perfect opportunity to, um, start getting involved in different clubs and different activities. And that way, it's a lot easier to kind of get a sense of belonging because you meet all these people again that are going through the same thing as you are, and you get to bond with them over something that you're all passionate about. And I guess that really helps with building this sense of solidarity, and it helps you definitely get a better grip on university life as a whole. um, so yeah, that would be what I had to say.
And what are your plans/goals after you graduate?
So I've already graduated, I guess, a year, almost 2 years ago now. Wow, time flies. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about what I'm currently doing. So actually, in the last year of my degree, I did an honors thesis, which is basically a little mini research project that you can do with a professor from UBC as part of your degree program. And I also did a work learn with a lab, the same lab where I did my honors thesis. And so after I graduated, I ended up getting a job at that lab. And so what I'm currently doing is research on fMRI for schizophrenia patients. So fMRI is functional magnetic resonance imaging, and basically it's, we're taking a whole bunch of pictures of people's brains while they're doing a task inside the MRI scanner. So they might be like playing a game or pressing a button, thinking different things, and basically we're trying to see what areas of their brain are involved in doing those different things. So it's a pretty exciting research avenue, I would say, and yeah, I think that research is definitely a path where you can go after you graduate. And particularly if for biophysics, for example, since that's my degree program, I would say that you end up getting a good knowledge of biology from the degree, but then you also have a lot of the computer skills or analysis skills from the physics and math, which are quite useful in whatever research you end up going into, even if it isn't physics related necessarily. Yeah, so I think that's one of the benefits of the biophysics degree.
Yeah, so I'm actually in my final year, and I'm actually in the middle of applying for the master's at UBC in pharmacology. And how I got involved with research is actually when I graduated high school. I was very fortunate to get a scholarship to join a lab for those 2 months. And I've just been back there every summer because I'm so passionate about research. And so I'm planning on returning to that lab and having my own project to work on. And yeah.
My plan is basically to, right now I'm in third year, so I have one more year to go. And during my final year is hopefully when I'm going to be going through the process for med school applications. I'm currently studying for the MCAT, and that's been very, very interesting. It's been going, I don't know, it's very difficult, but it's just good to know that once that's done, that I'll hopefully be able to finally get to where I wanted to. And yeah, so based on that, I guess my future plans would be to go to med school and continue to study for the MCATs for now. And yeah, that's it for me.
Great. And our last question is there anything you would recommend to someone considering university or a degree in STEM? If you have any advice, also any extra advice, feel free to include that in your answer.
I guess just to touch on some of the stuff we already discussed today, I would say, take advantage of the different opportunities that are offered on campus. For example, joining clubs, joining student associations, meeting other people in your program, talking with professors, just, making sure that you're getting out there and meeting people and, being an active part of the campus community, I think is something that is really helpful and will make your university experience better overall. Yeah, I think that's about all I can think of about adding on.
Something that was really important for me and really helped me get through my degree was having a mentor, specifically a female mentor. And, we've all heard of like imposter syndrome and everything. And I think it was really crucial for me to have someone, in my corner, encouraging me and believing in me and like guiding me through my degree. And if I ever had a question about anything, like it was really helpful to have that mentor who I'm actually planning on working with after graduating. I would recommend getting close to a professor.
I would definitely recommend kind of picking a hobby, or if there's something that you're passionate about other than school. For example, for me, I've always been a huge sports person. When I was in high school, I did kickboxing, and that was my thing. And if you have that thing that's kind of your moral compass, and try to keep that throughout your university years, no matter how busy you get, because for me personally, that's what I turned to whenever things got really stressful, or whenever I felt like I was giving up on everything that was going on, because it is a difficult path, but it is really rewarding. And to have something that you're passionate in, and kind of using that to help your mental health and kind of keeping everything on the right track is definitely really important. So
Okay, great. That's all the questions that I have. As a reminder to anyone watching, our site will be up until Sunday. You can check out our videos, do some demonstrations, and we also have one last Q&A session tonight. So if you have any questions that you want to submit, it's at 8 p.m. tonight. And yeah, thank you.